Welcome to our 2021 retrospective. It has been a year that happened.
Yeah.
Like,
Did it though?
okay, we were talking about this just a couple minutes ago, and not a lot, entertainment-wise, media-wise, not a whole lot happened, honestly.
No.
I feel like it's for various different reasons for each of us,
Yeah,
though.
Yeah.
yeah, because so I'm looking at my notes, and the first section of my notes, which it has been for the last couple years, is video games, and I'm like, what video games came out this year at all, let alone ones we even played. There's the Diamond and Pearl remakes, and which we didn't buy. And then it's I didn't buy, at least, but I'm like, what else even came out? I have no idea.
I guess if we're starting on video games, then there is one thing that I did buy this year
Okay.
and that I started playing, which is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity.
Oh yeah, that okay. Wait, was that this year, early this year, or was that late last
I
year?
think it released last year, like end of
Yeah,
last year, but
I'm gonna look.
I only got it this year. So shrug.
Well, how is that?
It's pretty fun. Okay, it is definitely not what I was expecting. I was very tentative about it because the main reason I bought it was because it acts as a prequel to Breath of the Wild,
Right.
and I wanted to know more about the story because I really enjoyed the story of Breath of the Wild. So then I got it, but then I had heard that it's mainly like fight your way, kind of brawl kind of thing and stuff. And I was like, not that great with the whole slash hack and slash kind of thing. So I wasn't sure how much I would actually enjoy playing it. But I actually enjoy it quite a bit because the thing is that it's so ridiculous with the hack and slash that it's actually pretty fun.
Yeah, because the whole Warriors tagline of that game, and also the original Hyrule Warriors, comes from Dynasty Warriors, which is different series, obviously, but that's the kind of gameplay of that series.
mhm.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it was really fun. I enjoyed it, and I like all the little cutscenes and everything. I haven't finished it because I have been playing it whenever people come over and stuff, and we're like, let's play something kind of mindless. Let's just play Harbor
mm,
Wards. So, yeah, I enjoy it and stuff. It, and I look forward to seeing the whole story play through. I know that it's not like canon in terms of like it's kind of like a what if scenario because I think that this isn't really much of a spoiler, but Breath of the Wild takes place after like a big calamity and
yeah,
everything. And in Hyrule Warriors, this is if that didn't happen. So,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
yeah. I remember hearing people saying that they liked the game. Even people who again played the original Hyrule Warriors were saying that this was better than the
Mm,
first one, even. So, yeah, I that's good for that, I guess.
yeah, I definitely recommend it. I'm also very much looking forward to Breath of the Wild 2 whenever that comes out next
I
year.
Yeah, I did recently see a headline somewhere that said that someone at Nintendo, I don't remember who, said that the plan is to have that released in 2022. So
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
that's what they
yeah,
had said.
yeah, but
yeah,
it was
the
what I
trailer.
saw was just a couple days ago. So it's to say that even with COVID stuff, this is still the plan at the moment. So so
Yay!
that's good. Um,
I guess the funny thing is that I came into possession of several games that I either didn't start yet or they got released a long time ago, but I did get Breath of the Wild, so
mm,
I'm planning to start that at some point. And then I also was gifted Story of Seasons, the new one for the Switch.
You also got
And
Pokemon Snap too.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that
yeah,
came out this year. I completely forgot about that.
I was like, did that come out last year? Did that come out this year? And then I was
I
like,
think
no,
it
I'm
did
thinking
come
of
out.
Animal Crossing.
No,
Yeah, Animal
that was
Crossing.
this year. Damn. Okay,
Yeah,
that's something at least.
Snap was this year. Yeah, Snap is adorable. At first, I wasn't sure if I wanted to get it or not, but then I saw people playing it, and I was like, This is like one of those games where you can just pick it up and it's just really cute and wholesome and mindless. Oh, okay, maybe not mindless because you actually have to take photos and stuff, but it's just really
You
cute
don't have
and
to like
everything.
plan.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
not like a Pokemon game where it's like, okay, I need to figure out my team, I have to figure out how to defeat this gym, or it's like, oh look, the Pikachu's just running across the log. It's so cute. Snaps
Yeah.
picture.
I guess continuing video games. I did continue another one that I had put down for a while. I continued my file for Story of Seasons Trio of Towns, which is for the 3DS. And then I finished my playthrough of Tales of the Abyss and it destroyed me. So I
For
did
the
that.
fourth time.
More like okay, first playthrough, this is like the second time, but as like overall playthrough, this was probably the seventh time.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
But this was the most destroyed I've ever been. So that was interesting.
Oh.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
I guess
again, on my end, I'm like literally okay. Well, I have something to talk about though, even though it's not me playing. But since Julie started being with me, she's been playing stuff. Um, and I don't remember how much of this I said last time or not. But at this point, she finished Pokemon Sword, including Crown Tundra and Isle of Armor DLC.
Mhm.
She did. She at least like in terms of the story, well, quote unquote story, beat Super Mario Odyssey and got like I want to say like over 600, maybe even 700 moons, which is
Wow.
pretty damn good.
Mm.
There's 880 in total, and so that's impressive. And then she started playing Xenoblade, and
Oh.
Oh wow, cool.
she hasn't played it basically since like this semester started, which like fair. Uh, but she's gotten like 40-ish% through. She's in Alchemos, so
Okay.
yeah. But it's so just kind of watching her play through that, and her experience has been interesting from my point of view. But yeah, literally, I'm like, I don't think I have played anything at all myself this year whatsoever. Uh, except I tried to play Sly 2 once, and I got like an hour in, and then like there were some weird glitches and the game froze, and then I tried to like reboot or like hard reset my PS2 and it wouldn't turn on, so I gave up.
No.
So my PS2 also might be broken. I don't know. I haven't tried it since.
Rip.
No. Oh, I guess speaking of old games, both me and my got the digital download for Majora's Mask from the 3DS shop,
Okay.
and we haven't gotten like basically anywhere with it. Technically, we're still in like we're still in the very beginnings of the game and everything, but already I can see why this is a very popular game because the mechanics of it are very interesting. The whole time loop and
Yeah,
stuff.
I definitely think in terms of like the concept of the game, it's probably one of the most interesting Zelda games, but
Mm-hmm.
it also, from what I've seen, there are some moments that are particularly frustrating. So,
Hmm.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And of course with the time loop aspect, it's kind of like ah.
mhm.
Yeah, especially since the time passes so quickly. I was just like, wait, we're already on like dawn of the final day? What?
Yep.
And there's also it's actually pretty scary. Well, I mean, the moon aside, there are some other really scary visuals and stuff for the game too.
Oh, especially since you're so early, you haven't seen anything.
Yeah, but it's already been kind of creepy.
Amazing to think that this was a children's game.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up at points.
But yeah. So Majora's Mask, I'm very interested to also. I feel like this year I have. Well, I mean, I technically started Breath of the Wild earlier, but I think I've started actually falling more into like wanting to play more Zelda games. So I hope to do that for next year because I also saw Skyward Sword, and I was like, Skyward Sword looks like it's like a pretty fun game too. So
Yeah, I'm
like,
curious what, because Skyward Sword is one of those games where like there's of course like the people always talk about the motion controls and how people like don't like them or whatever, but like
Mhm.
I feel like other people have also said that like because everyone talks about the motion controls, they're sort of not talking about the other stuff. And
Yeah.
like from my point of view, I haven't played it, but I've watched at least 2 playthroughs of it, so I know the story and I know the order of stuff. And so from my
Mhm.
point of view, there are some things that I like and there are some things I don't like. There's one thing that I really like that I feel they completely squander at some point, and I'm not going to say what it is, but like, um, so it's definitely one of the. It's I'm curious when you do play it, like what your overall opinion is, and if there's some things that you like versus what you don't, and stuff like that. Because I've heard very polarizing opinions. I've heard some people say they love the game, some people say they despise it completely. So
Oh my god.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm very curious to play that game. And then probably also eventually Twilight Princess. Ocarina of Time, I know Mai has. But
Yeah, it's kind of hard, but I also have it for like the 3DS too. But I'll eventually try to get further in it.
I Twilight Princess is the only one that I've actually like played through, and beaten
what was
myself.
it?
Um, I like it overall. Again, there are a few things that are kind of annoying, but overall it's pretty solid. Um, yeah, there's one there's one part in particular that is like incredibly frustrating.
Oh no.
And I will just say that like when Game Grumps played it, I want to say like 2 years ago, and when they got to that part, it was so cathartic. Was one of the greatest freakouts that they've ever had, and it made me feel nice, and that I'm like, okay.
You were like, it's not just me.
Yeah. Because it is, I found it incredibly frustrating, and yeah, I'm pretty sure when you get to it in the game, it's not like super early or super late in the game. I want to say it's like, again, maybe 35-40% of the way in or something.
Oh,
I
wow.
think you'll
Okay.
know what it is, what moment it is.
Mhm.
And I just want to know if you will also want to throw the controller.
Yeah, I hope to get into more Zelda games, so hopefully I can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, next year at least, again, we have hopefully Breath of the Wild 2, but stuff that is like confirmed to release, of course, we have Legends Arceus coming out
Yes,
in just about a month, actually.
I am very much looking forward to Legends Arceus. I like all the promotional things they've been showing for it too, like with the
all the Hisuian
forms and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, those have been good. And just again, okay, I'm gonna make a very bold prediction about Legends Arceus.
Oh.
Mhm.
It is going to be a good game, not a like phenomenal game, but a good game. But everyone's gonna say it's the worst thing ever. Guess what?
I mean, throw the entire fandom away. We don't need it. It's fine. Just burn it to the ground.
So that's my totally,
But
take.
Fallon, you forgot the most important bit,
What?
which is that 2 or 3 years down the line, people will suddenly say that they really loved the game and that it was one of the best games ever.
Oh my god.
Can I just trigger a few people that might be watching this right now?
Do it.
National Dex is not in this game.
Oh man.
That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. I just I shivered in my timbers.
Oh boy.
Oh man, no,
And if they come at me, I'm out for blood, so you can come. I'll drink your blood.
I feel like national Dexers are not so much of a thing anymore, right?
I don't know. I actively don't engage with Pokemon.
I blocked
people
out
anymore.
all of their tags. I've like completely hard blocked so many of them, but I also just want them to suffer. So this is just me wanting to be a little bit sadistic. Because I hate them so much.
Oh, but the other thing that's also, well, it came out this year, and we're watching our friend play through it, but there's also Tales of Arise, actually.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Which, originally, all 3 of us were, like, a little bit skeptical about it, mainly because the art style was, at least from what they had shown from the trailer and everything, the art style didn't seem like a departure from all the other Tales games. Upon actually watching it, like watching and playing through like the first couple bits of it and everything, I was like, oh, I'm actually genuinely interested in like these characters and the story and the setting and everything. So I was like, huh. We actually
the character writing is pretty decent so far, and it does actually feel like something I'm a little bit more familiar with, at least from the 3 other games that I played.
Yeah. The 2 characters actually do have a bit of like, they actually have like good chemistry with one another, because I feel like usually some games it can be a hit or miss, because usually the girl character is the too good for this world and not a single bad bone or personality trait in their body kind of person, or they go the complete opposite direction. But with the girl in here, even though you could argue she's a tsundere, there's actually some story elements to it, wherein
she's justified, honestly.
She's justified in why she's like that, and I like that they explain that. And then the other guy is just kind of hilarious, because for the so we played about I think she played about 6 or 7 hours of it in total, and for like 3/4 of that time, the main guy had he's called Iron Mask because he basically has this iron mask over his face and everything, and we were like, when are we going to see his actual face? We know that we see his actual face because the opening and everything reveals his face and everything. So when is it going to happen? And then finally we did see his face. I'm not going to spoil when you'll get the face reveal, but
it's a little bit funny because even like his personality, he's a little bit of a dumbass, and I love that.
Yeah.
Like he's wearing the mask and he's still like a dumbass. It's just so funny.
Yeah. But yeah, so far really enjoying that game too. So, and it's fun watching the playthrough for it also.
Well, there was a game that was going to come out this year, but was delayed till early next year. Which is the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West.
Oh, really?
So,
definitely,
it's for PS5, so I'm not going to be playing it. But definitely, at least not now. But definitely going to be looking into it more. Because first game is really good, and the story and world is really well done. So I want to see what more they have for that. So, yeah.
Yay! I guess mainly the video game section has been, these are a bunch of games that we either have or are waiting for, and we'll play.
Yeah. Well, shall we move on to the equally long cough haha section on movies?
Yeah, I guess so. Oh, wait, we did play at least the free update for Animal Crossing, which is really good. I can't really highly recommend it because the game will automatically update, but
we'll get the DLC eventually, but not right now.
I remember the update because apparently they're you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure there were kind of no updates at all at first for a year or more, and people were are you gonna do anything? And then finally
2020
so
they did do updates, but then the beginning of 2021 it was silent.
Okay, that's what it was. So because I remember people were kind of complaining they supported the previous one for so much longer, and then it was all right, fine, bitch, have all this stuff, and it's just okay.
Bitch.
But yeah, a lot of the stuff that they put in the update are really cool and stuff, as well as they brought back a bunch of features that a lot of people, they listen to their fans essentially, and they brought back a bunch of things that people were asking for and stuff. And yeah, it's pretty fun. I hope that we can play more of it and stuff, but at least from what I've seen thus far, it's like replaying the game all over again, and I can see all my money declining.
Time to gamble on the turnip stock market.
Oh my god.
Okay, but yeah, now we can move on to movie.
Okay. Well, I guess the big thing for movies is that we actually started getting Marvel movies again this year.
Yes.
So the first one to come out was Black Widow, which I saw on my own. These two have not seen yet.
No.
And coming into it, I had pretty low expectations because I just didn't really care that much, but also, like, everyone kind of said that, like, yeah, it's just sort of whatever. So I watched it, and I liked it more than I thought I would. Again, it might be sort of the low expectations, but I don't know, I enjoyed it. I thought it's... The character dynamic, especially with Yelena, the new character. Well, there's a couple new characters, but basically Black Widow's sort of younger sister, so to speak. I really like her. She has this like kind of. I think you will like her sense of humor if you want to find like clips or whatever online, and so that's good. The action is also, like, there's a lot of action. I literally counted because I was like, okay, this is getting absurd. There's literally, like, 6 action scenes in the first hour.
What?
But they're all noticeably different because there's, like, a one-on-one fight, and then there's, like, a car chase, or there's, like, a rooftop running chase, or there's, like, so it's, like, it's different enough where it's, like, it is kind of a lot, but it doesn't feel like it's just, like, repetitive noise.
Okay.
And one criticism that I have seen that I don't understand is people, and this is a criticism I've seen like a lot of people say, is that like there's no villain until like the end of the movie. And I'm like, I mean, you don't like see him in front of you for like most of the movie, but you know who the bad guy is. You have this organization that is the villainous organization that are after the main characters almost the entire movie. So it's like, I don't understand where you're So I don't get that criticism at all. Anyway, is it like some brilliant, movie that everyone needs to see? No. And should it have come out before Infinity War and Endgame? Yes. But given that, I think this was a totally, decent, solid movie, and if anyone is on the fence about it, and like, oh, I don't know if I'll care, I would say give it a shot.
Okay.
Also, because there are some things that are introduced in this movie that are definitely going to get picked up later. So,
okay.
Yeah. So that was the first one Marvel movie came out. The second one that came out was Shang-Chi, and this all three of us did see.
Yes.
So we
so happy.
Support Asians.
Yes, I really enjoyed the movie. I think that goes for all three of us.
Yeah, like I said, I liked Black Widow more than I thought. I do like Shang-Chi more than Black Widow, so that is there to be fair. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Of course, the action's great. But the characters are also
was
good.
Really, like, they did a really good job with like the different like fighting styles and everything. And then I think all the characters are really well-rounded too. Like, for once, like, the villain, like, I agree that the first couple of villains for, like, the first Marvel movies, like the Iron Man movies, especially, and stuff, maybe were pretty weak and stuff. But here I was kind of like, I did actually kind of feel for, like, the one villain and stuff, at least the villain that you see for the most part. Like, I get it where he's coming from. Is he right?
Yeah.
No, but I get where he's coming from. And there is like a big bad, like completely evil villain, but that only appears at the very end and everything. And at that point, you're just like, it's not in the spotlight. And I think I like that fact.
Yeah, he's good. That villain's good. And I think, like, again, the character dynamic is just between the characters, especially Shang-Chi and also, what's her name? Katie? Is that her name?
Katie.
Yeah, I think so.
I like them
I
together
love
a
Katie.
lot. And I'm also definitely very interesting to see how these characters interact with other characters going forward.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's just really, again, most people like this movie, so you probably know about this. I don't really need to give you any recommendation about this, but yeah, we watched it and we liked it and it was good. So
That's third movie
Third
that
version
came
was
out.
Eternals, which none of us have seen because apparently it's bad.
Yeah, apparently it's really terrible.
I do know it's supposed to come out on Disney Plus, I think like January 15th-ish or something. So I will probably see it. Maybe it's surprisingly good and everyone else is wrong, but I don't think so. So
All I know about it, other than the fact that a lot of people didn't like it, is that there is Bollywood in it at some point. Like one of the people is like a
Oh,
Bollywood.
yeah.
Is he an
Yeah,
actual Bollywood actor?
I don't know. I don't know that much
Yeah, because
about it. All I
the
know is
whole
that there's a
the whole
reference to it.
the whole thing is from what I think. The thing is, like, so few people care about this movie that I like don't even know spoilers for this movie just because like nobody is saying what they are because nobody cares. But like,
That's so true, though.
but I know that like because again the characters are eternal, they live forever or whatever, right? So they have
Yeah.
taken up various roles in society. You know, for what they want. I know one of them is like basically like a hotshot like actor kind of person who's having fun in the spotlight, basically. I know that's a thing, but I don't even know who that is or what their deal is or anything like that. So I don't know. I'll see maybe if there's any reason at all to watch it. Because my gut instinct, and I could be completely wrong about this because I haven't seen the movie, is that like I feel like these characters could be characters that like they just sort of like shove to the side and be like, don't worry about them. Who cares? Like if like you know, because I do wonder. I'm like, if a movie is not good or doesn't do well, is that going to impact like the overall story, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like these are characters who you could conceivably just sort of like, we'll just pretend they don't exist. Like it's
Yeah.
fine. So again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is some super important thing that's set up in this movie, or I don't no idea. But I will find out in like a month or so, maybe. I don't know, but we have nothing to talk about. But the fourth Marvel movie that came out this year was Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Okay, this one, me and my Fallon, have you seen it?
I saw it the Friday it came out because that was the last day of finals for me, and I got out early,
Woohoo!
so I went to see it, or like mid-afternoon. And I am, of course, not going to spoil anything, but I will say this is easily in the top 3 MCU films, period.
Wow. From what I've heard, is that there are even people that haven't watched any other Marvel movie, but they've heard that Spider-Man is good, so they're like, should I watch Spider-Man? And people are like, you probably should watch the other.
Yeah, I don't know how this would be for someone who hasn't watched the other Spider-Man stuff. But
yeah.
For what it is, and from my standpoint, it is very good. Are there some things that are kind of weird? Yes. But I don't think they're big enough to matter at all. The only thing I'm going to say, and this could be an issue with just the theater I was in, was that a lot of important scenes do happen at night, and it was kind of hard for me to see at times, but that could be the theater and my vision being.
Oh, that would make sense.
So I don't know. I'll have to rewatch it like at home on my own screen or whatever. But that's just keep that in mind.
I mean, when you do rewatch it, just hit us up because I don't want to go to the theater. I don't feel safe.
Yeah, I did. The theater I went to was one where they were checking everyone's vaccination card beforehand, which I know doesn't mean you're guaranteed, but whatever. Anyway, everyone still had masks on, so anyway, whatever. Not the point. But the main thing I'm going to say is that the story is, I mean, you know, for the trailers what the premise of the story is. But there are like legitimate consequences for what happens. There are legitimate emotional moments. I predict that Mai will cry at least twice, maybe 3 times.
Because I'm a weak bitch.
And
I've also heard that the Wikipedia page spoils everything. So
yeah, literally in like the beginning paragraph of the Wikipedia page just like spoils stuff. So yeah, don't even go on the Wikipedia page. But I will say the villains that are in this movie, which again are in the trailer, they're not just like cameos that show up as like a boss fight. Okay. They're actual.
So they have legitimate.
Characters.
Ooh.
Yeah, so they are. Some of them have more character than others because there's like several of them. So there are some that are kind of sidelined, but like they're characters in the story, and that's true for again all the kind of stuff that was involved in the actual plot. There are some cameo characters but they kind of they are characters who make sense to be cameos and fit in that role.
Okay.
One of them is a cameo kind of early on that character doesn't really do very much, but just them being in this movie is cool and interesting also for what it implies about other stuff, which is a very vague way of saying stuff, but you'll understand what I'm talking about when you see it.
Okay.
The second cameo is one that I've seen a lot of people get annoyed at, not at the cameo itself, but sort of what they do with this character. And I can see why people kind of don't like what they do with this character because of something what kind of was set up to happen with this character. But my counter to that is what this little cameo therefore sets up for the future is actually better than that. So it's sort of like, do you do the pretty cool thing now, or do you do the kind of whatever thing now and the really cool thing later? Right? And they sort of went
the latter,
they went for the latter one, in my opinion. So there's that. Oh, and also, even though this definitely is sort of like a concluding third film in Spider-Man trilogy, it does set up more things in the future, and both Kevin Feige of Marvel and also Amy Pascal of Sony have both said they are working with each other to try to make another trilogy of Spider-Man films in the MCU with Tom Holland.
Oh,
so
yay!
that kerfluffle that happened after the previous film, they seem to be like, okay, this was just like a bad PR thing for both of us. Let's try to actually like work together for this and, tell a story
because
that works.
everyone got on their backs when that happened, and they were like, no, and they were like, okay.
Yeah,
we'll listen.
And they have said though that like the next trilogy is, even though of course it's going to be same Spider-Man, same actor. They said, I think maybe Kevin Feige said this, that he wanted it to feel like a bit different than the trilogy that just happened. So my guess is maybe they'll get like a different director or something. But I can also
more home.
But I can also see that like it makes sense that this next set of from what happens in this movie, that the next set of movies would feel kind of different. So so I really like this movie. In terms of where it fits in those top three, I'm not 100% sure yet. I think Endgame is still going to be number one. I would say it's number one, but is it above or below Infinity War? I don't know yet. I definitely should. I would want to watch both of those films again because I've only seen them once, and kind of come to that conclusion. So I think it's very, very well done. It makes something that I didn't really like better in retrospect.
Okay.
And again, I'm being vague. When you see it, we'll talk about it and you'll understand all my points. But I very highly recommend it. And yeah, it's very good.
I am definitely looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And before I let you guys go to talk about any other movies that you may have seen, I did watch one other movie. So I'm looking at my notes, and I also wrote down some movies that I might want to see this year, but I didn't actually end up seeing. And the first of that list was Zack Snyder's Justice League, which I did not watch. I did not watch it. I may still watch it. I don't know, but I did not watch it this year.
I won't be there for you.
But what I did watch, you may have heard of this because it was on Netflix for a while, and a lot of people were citing how it was really good. Is The Mitchells versus the Machines?
I don't think I've heard of that actually.
It's animated. It's actually animated by Sony Animation. So some Spider-Verse. I don't think it's exact same people, but it's same company. Sony's animation quality is all over the place. And the premise of this is it's sort of you got a family, think you're kind of stereotypical kind of kids movie family. Like the character dynamics of The Incredibles, but they're not superheroes. Who are dealing with like a robot apocalypse. And it's still supposed to be a kids movie, right? So it's kind of goofy, and it's very goofy. But it knows that, so it has fun with that. And it gets pretty absurd, but in a way that I think is fun. And there are some definitely like legitimate kind of like family bonding moments that are done well. The characters are not like super interesting, but they work with what they're supposed to be. And there's definitely some visual fun with what's going on. So if you want just sort of like an hour and a half kind of like let's have a fun time movie, then that's a good one that I recommend. So yeah.
Hey.
Anyway, go ahead and say whatever other movies you have seen.
So I watched the latest James Bond. I am not going to spoil anything about the film. There is a huge debacle about that in my family.
It was caught in the crossfire too.
Yes. So
I've been spoiled, but I have not watched the film.
I
Valen's the only one safe.
Yeah, Valen's the only one safe, and we're gonna keep it that way. So I really enjoyed it, actually. I think it also, people were saying that it's like a good send-off film for oh god, I forgot.
Daniel
Craig. For Daniel Craig, and I definitely agree with that in terms of like, because he had mentioned that he was getting too old to act for the part and everything like that. And I think this being his final film definitely like cements like his legacy and stuff, because it is a genuinely good film, and they actually do play a lot with like different aspects of the character and stuff, and poke fun at certain things and stuff. The visuals and the sound and the cinematic work are obviously really amazing, as they usually are for James Bond films. And yeah, I mean, I recommend it. If you like watching James Bond movies, you'll definitely enjoy it. And even if this is your first James Bond movie, I think you can still enjoy it. I mean, I don't necessarily keep up with everything James Bond related, but I still enjoyed it. So
yeah, because we watched Casino Royale, Skyfall, and Spectre during our 300 movie thing. So we're like within those, like, where would you sort of like rank it?
I think I would rank it at the top, honestly.
Oh, okay.
I think I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't mind rewatching it again too. So
okay, because I know like we all like Skyfall a good amount, so I was wondering if you say, but you think you'd like it more than Skyfall? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think I like it more than Skyfall. I was actually thinking of putting it probably for the next round. I'll probably put it up.
Yeah, why not?
Let's do that whenever that happens.
Yeah, first we have to watch one of my movies in order to
Pain.
That hasn't happened yet.
Oops.
Otherwise, I rewatched a bunch of things. Like, I actually saw Sound of Music again recently.
Yay.
Which is always a treat. Then I recently rewatched the old Parent Trap and the new Parent Trap again. Which I was like, oh, we should watch these actually, because I do enjoy them. I'm curious to see what you're. Well, Mai, you've seen both the old and the new one, right?
No, I actually haven't seen either of them.
Oh. Okay, well, this is going to be an experience for everyone. Wait, did you know that there's apparently an old Freaky Friday? I didn't know that.
I was not aware. The only Freaky Friday I know and have watched is the one with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. And I remember really liking that when I was younger.
Same. So I guess that's something we should also rewatch.
Lindsay Lohan month.
Oh my god. I don't know if I could survive.
we can watch Mean Girls.
Oh boy.
I have managed to survive this long without watching that movie.
Then another movie that I also actually very recently, just yesterday actually, watched the Star Wars A New Hope yesterday. Because I showed it to my mom and brother for the first time. They hadn't watched it before. And yeah, everyone really liked it. And it was pretty fun just like rewatching it again, because I think the last time I saw A New Hope was when we did actually watch it like way before during like 300 movie challenge.
2017, right. I think, yeah.
Yeah.
It was so long ago.
I know.
It feels so long ago. And I was like, it was really interesting watching it again, and like also being like, wow, this is where it all began. Like, it's weird thinking that this was going to be just a standalone film, and then
Hmm.
it's amazing to see how it's like evolved since then from this one movie.
Not only that, but
And
because like the original budget is actually like not super high.
yeah,
Yeah.
So yeah.
it's pretty amazing. And my brother's favorite character was Han Solo, and my mom's favorite character was R2D2. So
Well, but there you go.
yeah. And I also had to explain because my mom was like, why are we watching this first? It says episode 4. And I was like, because
There's a long
technically,
story.
technically, there are prequels that are labeled 1, 2, and 3. And then they renamed this as 4, 5, and 6. But it makes more sense to watch this first
Yeah.
and then do the prequels later if you really want to.
Don't.
So, yeah. I mean, the other two trilogies, I kind of just want to show them the original trilogy and then we'll see what happens from there. I was thinking of maybe doing The Mandalorian afterward and stuff. Because I thought that that would be like something that they would be interested in. So, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, it was really interesting just watching it again. Of course, the version that's on Disney Plus is the one where you don't see like the puppet work and stuff, like as much and stuff, which I'm a little bit sad about because I would have kind of enjoyed seeing like how it actually would have been like in like when it showed in theaters in like 1977 and stuff, and it's still pretty good.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the original like version of A New Hope is impossible to get legally at this point.
That's so
So,
sad.
yeah, like I do think some people go like a bit over the top, but like, oh my god, if you're not watching the original, it's like not the real experience or something. There's some people who are like absolutely insane on that, but like you should have the option, like, you
Yeah.
know. So
I mean,
yeah,
it kind of sucks that that's not an option.
I remember seeing as because like part of it also is like there have been so many different changes, and some of them are actually like decent changes. But so I remember seeing a suggestion where it was like almost like you could have like a drop down, not like a checkbox menu of like which changes you want to see, and you check like I want to see like this, and this, but not this or this, and then like watch it or something. And like with Disney Plus, that would be a reasonable thing that they could maybe put into place, but it's not happened yet, so I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, I'm just like, But I mean, it didn't detract from it. It was still enjoyable to watch. It's just kind of sad that you can't really see like the because I would have liked to have seen the original special effects and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of appreciate like the budget they were working with and everything too. So
yeah.
But yeah, I saw that. I also saw. I don't know if either of you have heard of this movie, but do you guys know of the movie called Tick Tick Boom?
I've heard.
Wait,
I've heard of it.
Isn't this like a thing that just came out recently?
Yeah.
Okay.
Came out
It has Andrew Garfield.
Right. So
in
this
it.
is how I know this because I was watching videos of Andrew Garfield who kept getting like pressured about like people who being like, "Hey, there's these rumors you're the new Spider-Man movie. Are you in it or not?" He's like denying it all the time. Like, of course he would deny it regardless of like the actual answer, right? And so I remember people being like, "Why is he in all these interviews all the time? If they're just gonna ask about Spider-Man, wouldn't he like run and hide?" And I remember people saying, "Oh, it's because he's in this movie Tick Tick Boom, and he's doing officially interviews for that. People just keep asking about Spider-Man anyway." So that's the only thing I know about
Andrew
it.
alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Well,
boy has paid his dues.
Okay, well, how is the actual Tick Tick Boom movie? Because nobody apparently would ask about it.
It was pretty good. I liked it. I mean, it's about. This isn't a spoiler. It's about the guy who like wrote Rent the musical and stuff.
Okay.
Of which, it doesn't necessarily talk about what went into him writing Rent, but it goes into him writing a musical that was his previous idea to Rent and stuff like that. But there are some like interesting things in the movie that kind of tie into like Rent in terms of like, because when he's writing it, it's during the AIDS crisis and everything, which plays a huge part in Rent. So So there are some signs with that and stuff, and I like the music. Music was pretty good. The story was pretty nice too. I think it would be nice to watch it at some point and stuff.
Okay.
Cool.
It was enjoyable. I can't really say too much about it and without like giving away the entire story, but it was very enjoyable.
Okay.
And it's just kind of sad knowing, because I didn't realize this, but apparently before the first like time Brunch played out on Broadway and everything, he died before he actually got the seat on Broadway.
Mm.
So that's it's kind of sad. But yeah, I would say I recommend it, and it's probably also a film that I'll probably put on the list and stuff. And Andrew Garfield does play Jonathan Larson very well.
Okay.
Can he sing? I'm just wondering.
He does sing in the movie. I don't know if it is actually him singing in the movie, but yeah.
The character is singing.
The character is
okay.
singing, yes.
I'm always interested to see, like, for some of these, like, quote unquote big actors, if they can actually sing or if they get, like, a voice double, I guess.
Yeah.
It should say on the Wikipedia, like, cast list, what if they do have, like, a dub for the singing.
Let me see.
Well, while you're looking, Mai, did you watch anything this year at all outside of, like, Shang-Chi?
Oh, God, did I? Oh, shit, no, I didn't. I mean, I haven't, time has been a bit of a commodity, so yeah, I didn't really watch anything besides Shang-Chi and the movies we would actually just watch for our Movie Monday thing, so.
Yeah, well, we did, I mean, we'll talk about this in a bit, well, we kind of have already, though, but whatever. But
it seems that Andrew Garfield did actually sing.
Oh, well,
okay. I'm always just interested to know because of what happened to Zac Efron during the High School Musical, the first High School Musical, where he did sing, but Disney got someone to dub him over anyway, and he was like, "Yo, what the hell?" So then he fought to sing actually in the second one, and then I mean, we did see him again in The Greatest Showman, and he can sing. So
yeah, he can sing.
Or Zac Efron, he was like a child, and they were like, "No. We don't want you to sing," and he's like, "No, I will sing."
And then he sounded just as excited and passionate about it as you do right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Any other movies, or should we move on to shows?
I can't think of any other movie off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, I mean, here. Okay, 2022, I think actually has like a fair. I mean, there's the Marvel stuff. You know what? Let me just like pull up the 2022 in film page. So I'm curious. Because I'm also gonna. I feel like the Marvel stuff that's coming out in 2022, they keep switching like the order of like what's what. For some reason. But let's see. Anything interesting? Oh my god, okay, I'm looking at the Wikipedia list. So I forgot about this. So you guys remember the wonderful experience that was watching 2012?
Yes.
Yes.
The director is making another movie that's coming out in February of 2022, where, you know what the premise of this movie is?
What?
COVID-19?
The fucking moon falls into the earth.
Oh dear.
And I kind of want to see it.
You can do that on your own.
Oh boy.
That's a thing. I forgot. The Uncharted movie, which.
Oh yeah, Tom Holland I think is playing.
Yeah, and everyone's like looking at this like, this doesn't work because like, sorry, Tom Holland does not look like Nathan Drake. Mark Wahlberg does not look like Sully at all. So just also from the trailer, they literally like in the trailer they have scenes from like all four of the games. So it's like, what the hell kind of story are you trying to tell in this? So
Uncharted all in one.
All in one Uncharted.
So yeah,
it is truly Uncharted territory.
Oh God. Oh yeah, there's the fucking the Batman movie with what's his name?
Oh
Oh yeah,
yeah.
with Rob Pattinson.
I totally forgot about
Yeah.
that, and yeah, that actually I'm actually looking forward to that. I don't know if I'll see it in theaters, but
I think that could be interesting because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
Rob
I'm
Pattinson.
yeah, and the director for that is the guy who did the Planet of the Apes, I think just the new stuff. I don't think he did. I think he did the second and third one, but whatever. Yeah, it's that guy. So, that should hopefully that'll be good, and it, hopefully we'll have reason to.
No more sad Affleck.
So there's that. Okay, so yeah, in May we have the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which I guess this is technically a spoiler, but not really. I'll just say, so one of the post-credit scenes for Far From Home is basically a trailer for Multiverse of Madness.
Okay. So, I think everyone kind of expected that was going to be the case.
Yeah, so there's some interesting stuff from the trailer. So yeah, so that's coming up for that. There's another Jurassic World movie.
What?
Oh no,
really?
a Minions movie sequel. Fuck, I forgot about that. Ugh.
What?
But okay, yeah.
Oh wait, is the Mario movie coming out next year too?
I don't know. I'm slowly scrolling down, so if it is, I'm not there yet. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So July is the Thor sequel, so that should hopefully be good. Bunch of stuff in August, which I've never heard of before. Oh, there's the next Mission Impossible movie is September, which those have had a various quality to them. But let's see. The director's the same guy who did the previous 3, I think. So those are the good ones. So
okay.
So hopefully that might be good. Oh yeah, we have the Spider-Verse sequel that's in October. So
Yay!
that should be good. And then Black Panther sequel in November. Which, again, of course, there's the thing with Chadwick Boseman, but also, I forgot her name. I think the actress playing Shuri, I think they announced that she was kicked off the project. Basically because she was being an idiot regarding COVID. So yeah, so that's a thing. But we don't know okay, whatever. Okay, yeah, so December, the Mario movie. Apparently the sequel to Avatar will finally come out in December.
Wait, really?
It's December 2022. I literally I remember seeing originally this movie Avatar 2 is supposed to come out in 2014. And I literally am not believing that this movie is going to come out until it's actually in theaters. But yeah, so there's actually a decent amount of stuff here that hopefully could be good. So that's something. Things kind of coming back into the to normalcy. Hopefully slowly. So
very, very slowly.
Yeah. Ugh. Well, anyway. Okay. Show stuff to talk about.
Sure.
Okay.
I re-watched a bunch of shows.
Okay.
Well, 2 shows in particular from my childhood. It's funny because this was around the same time we were watching Mystery Incorporated, but it actually was not because we were watching Mystery Incorporated. It was literally that my brother was like, oh, they have the What's New Scooby-Doo TV series on Netflix. Let's watch it. And that's kind of the Scooby-Doo that I grew up with in my childhood, as well as the really old Scooby-Doo and stuff like that. So I've been rewatching that slowly, and we're nearly done. We're almost done with the final season.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I mean, there's no story through line or anything. Everything's just a separate episode and stuff.
You're not getting emotionally wrecked.
No, there is no emotional wreck community. Then the other one that I started rewatching is even longer back from that, which is The New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Which is so wholesome and nostalgic. I mean, I kind of realized this, like, later when I was rewatching it, but I was watching and I noticed like all the background scenes and everything. I was like, wow, they're so nicely drawn and everything. And then it kind of occurred to me, I was like, wait a minute. Was this actually one of my like inspirations for drawing background stuff? And I didn't even realize it. Because a lot of the backgrounds are actually really pretty and well done and stuff. So I'm like, I should probably suggest it for a show Sunday and stuff, especially as we're watching through it and stuff. But yeah, it's just really cute and adorable, and I recommend watching it because it is a like young children's show, but it's not like in your face about it. You know what I mean? It's not like watching Dora the Explorer and having to where it's like, which path should we go on? The red path or the blue path? And it's not like watching Dora the Explorer. You can actually watch it, and it's cute and adorable.
There's some reason to watch it if you're not a stupid baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. In terms of again, I watched a bunch of animated stuff on my own again, which I'm making a video for that. Which hopefully the plan for that is it will be posted on the 30th. So that's the thing. I didn't watch quite as many as last year, but yeah, I did watch a fair amount. So I'm not really going to talk about any of that. The only like live action thing that I watched on my own was The Boys, which I watched near the beginning of the year. Do you guys?
Oh my god! Right? Yeah, you did watch that.
Yeah. Do you know anything about the premise, the main thing of that? I know Maya talked to you a little bit about it, but Tara, do you know anything about it?
I do know. It's about superheroes. Like it's kind of like a twist on if they actually existed and how like kind of messed up they would be in the real world.
So basically, like, here's the thing. This show is like really violent. And like it is like just barely like on the cusp of like I feel like I can watch this. So I don't recommend it for either of you in that sense. And basically like I wrote in my notes like this is a great show to watch if you want to feel depressed because like everybody in the show sucks, and either they suck as a person or their life is shitty, and it's one of those, like, even though it's super violent, there's kind of reasons for it to be violent because of course superheroes doing stuff, and like, but it is used. I'm not even going to say not for shock factor, but it is, but the shock factor serves a purpose. So, like, for example, this is, like, in the beginning of the first episode. The main character, his girlfriend, gets literally vaporized because the Flash equivalent character in this universe just, like, ends up running through her by accident. And you see it happen, and, it's like, okay, but, like, that's literally the inciting incident of, the main character's whole thing. So, there's stuff like that. You've probably heard of, or at least seen the character Homelander, as he's like the Superman equivalent. And he's definitely like up there with those characters who it's like, I fucking hate you, but like in a way that like it's because you're written and acted really well, right? So yeah, he's one of the worst people in like a show or movie I've like ever seen. But like for anyone watching this who does know about this, just the plane feels like, oh yeah, that scene. It's like, holy shit. But just in general, this is definitely a critique of like it's a critique of a lot of stuff, but it's mainly a critique of like American corporatism, because the whole thing is that the superheroes work under a corporation, and all the stuff that comes from that in terms of like the PR for them, and they make a whole thing about like, oh look, like for example, there's a character who is revealed that they're actually I don't remember if they're straight up gay or if they're bi, but whatever, they're one of those two. And it's revealed that that's what they are, and they were trying to keep it a secret because they just didn't really want people to be bothered about it, and also their person who they were kind of dating, they didn't want them to be involved in the spotlight and stuff, so they just sort of didn't tell anybody about it. But of course, once it sort of comes out in a way that's not great, the company is like, oh great, now we can push all this like diversity, LGBT representation, and everyone's just like fucking. So it's super cynical about all of that, and it's done effectively, but again, it makes you sad. So it's like it's definitely not a show that a lot of people would recommend for a lot of people. But if this kind of take on things is, what it is for you, then I would recommend it in that sense. Just keep in mind it is very violent. I will say, I think season 2 is a little bit worse than season 1. Little bit. But not by much, and I think the main reason is because I think... So one of the plots for season 2 is about this character named Stormfront. And as soon as they introduce this character, I immediately know where they're going with this. Because you might not know this, I guess you don't know this, Stormfront is one of the original, literal, neo-Nazi websites. So as soon as that was introduced, I'm like, oh, okay, this character's a Nazi. Like, that obviously, it's immediately, where they're going. And, yeah, that's what they're going. And so it's one of those things where it's it was one of those where it's this feels a little bit too on the nose, where the other stuff was, a little bit more, what I would argue is realistic. Obviously, actual Nazis exist. I'm not, saying that or whatever. But, I don't know. So it was a little bit, took me a little bit out of it. But, again, this is it's it's still really good, but not quite as good. So, whatever. So it's one of those things where it's do I say that I liked this show? I don't know if I'd say I like it, quote unquote, but, it is very effective for what it's trying to do. So it's up to you if it's something that you would want to go into. Probably not for both of you, but... No. Yeah, and I will probably, again, when they continue with this for season 3 or whatever, I will probably watch it, and see where things go, and yeah, so that was one thing I watched on my own that I can talk about. But there are some things that we can talk about that we did watch together, outside of the show Sundays and stuff. So at the beginning of the year, I showed you the first case of Great Pretender, and then you two watched the rest of it on your own.
Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did finish watching Great Pretender.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Oh, yeah, we should tell you. We stuck with the dub because we liked the dub so much that we just stuck with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the dub for that is really solid.
Yeah. We really enjoyed it, and I completely forgot that we did actually... It was so early in the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really was, though.
Yeah, I was just again, this is why I take notes for this.
Yeah, Great Pretender was a lot of fun. And I think I see what you mean by they left it open for maybe there being a second season, but at the same time the story did close, so if
I'm 99% sure that is the end. Which is also partly why I'm kind of annoyed that they even did it in the first place, where it's if this is the end, then why did you even bring that up?
Yeah.
So that's
that one thing at the end. I was just what?
Yeah, it's wait, why though? What's the point of this? So that's the one thing where I'm just but everything else I think is done really well. Honestly, when I had originally watched the show, whatever, I gave it an 8, but then I went back to no, there's a 9. It's better than an 8. So yeah, it's
especially the last case and everything too.
Yeah, how it gets so involved, and
that was so bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
oh my god.
And then the third case was just
that was so sad.
Yeah, it was very emotional. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how the guy got screwed over in the end, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's a really good show. So if anyone hasn't seen it, definitely go see it because it's really good.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then also we have been continuing to watch Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated.
Yes.
I believe we are on episode 8 of season 2. So
we're like 3/4 of the way.
We would have finished, but life. So we're gonna just talk about season 1, I guess. And
well, we could
the
talk
8
about
episodes of
we could
season
talk about
2.
what we've seen, yeah, and we'll talk about the rest of it next time, I guess.
It's
Well, yes.
basically what we said before still applies, and it just gets more bonkers and sad and bonkers.
When you said that we would get emotionally invested, I didn't know until it happened, and I
Yup.
was like,
Yup. Yeah.
I didn't know that seeing Fred as a hobo would be such a sad thing.
I love
Like, if you
how
haven't watched it, that's going to sound completely out of the blue.
I love how
the beginning of season 2 is just what?
I love how one of my favorite things that while we're watching this is that, like, because in the discussion we had, I mentioned how the show has a body count, and now literally like every episode, you two are just like, "Did they die?" And I'm just like, "Oh my god!" And I said
every time in the beginning, in the intro, you have to admit there are a couple times where you kind of it's implied that they didn't survive.
probably, but again, that's not what I meant when I said that. But yeah, it's very good. It's really fun for me to rewatch this again because a lot of the specific episodes, once I'm watching it, I remember them, but I don't remember a lot of the specific ones, like, off the top of my head. So it's cool to see this again and kind of see how things progress. And again, knowing how things do end up, it's interesting for me to watch this, at the beginning. And just seeing what these two freak out about is very entertaining.
I appreciate the fact that there's a Higurashi episode. Like,
I
appreciate the fact that they referenced it and they referenced some more subtle things. Oh, I had a fun time with that episode.
Oh yeah, and then hot dog. I was not expecting hot dog water to come back, and then it was so sad. Like Valen paused because she's in the opening too when she's part of the gang and everything, and Valen paused the scene and pointed out because she took Daphne's spot in the opening that instead of because in the opening Daphne's holding like a picture frame of Fred. But when it's hot dog water, she's holding a picture frame of Velma.
They're girlfriends.
Like, yeah, and it's like, oh. Especially, unfortunately, at the time when it came out, I think, Valen, you explained this, where at the time where it came out, they couldn't be explicit with, like, a relationship or anything.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was, I think this started airing, like, 2011 or so,
Yeah.
So, they couldn't be very explicit with it, but they did what they did shoehorn into it. Well, not shoehorn. They did put a
bunch sold you.
Yeah. And there's definitely character moments that like Velma has where you're like, oh, huh? Like with the whole mermaid thing, right? If you remember.
Yeah.
So
gay
as fuck. Okay. And it does make the whole Shaggy thing interesting with her.
Yeah,
it's like because people point out like the whole thing with Shaggy feels like why is this happening? It's funny, but it's like this is kind of weird. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. So is it kind of just like a desperate thing where she's like, no, I'm like straight because see, I'm dating Shaggy, and it's like But yeah, I don't know. So, but yeah, it's really good. We shall continue when we're ready to do so, and we will definitely talk about the conclusion of it next time, if not maybe even sooner. We'll see what happens.
Bringing up the thing with Shaggy too, like the thing that I'm also thinking about is like if it's like Shaggy's actually romantic, actually. Because I remember the episode where like he was sad that Velma didn't want to like go out with him again, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm sad about this, but pizza." And then it's never brought up.
He loves food and Scooby too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it definitely good show for sure.
Yes.
And
please watch. Oh, I remember 2 other shows that I kind of saw bits and pieces. Like I saw like most of the episodes because my family were watching it, but I guess somewhat spoiler for it is that neither of the shows we've ever finished. for two completely different reasons. But so the two shows that I got introduced to this year, but we never finished, were The Americans and Manifest. Do you know anything about either of those
I
shows?
don't know either of these.
No.
Okay, so The Americans is basically a story about, it takes place during the Cold War and everything, of which there are these two communist spies who got sent over, and like they're KGB and everything, but they're acting as like an American family. So these two spies basically were arranged to be married to each other. They came over to pretend they were like the stereotypical American couple. They had kids and stuff. The kids are, at least in the beginning, the kids are not aware at all about the fact that their parents are KGB and stuff like that. But while they're living out their lives as just like travel agency workers and stuff, they're still doing like spy stuff and like all that stuff. And I mean, it was interesting to watch. I mean, there are a lot of like it's also a very violent show because, you know, KGB, and then you have the CIA and everything and all that stuff, and the FBI and everything going on. But it doesn't really play either side as the good guys per se, because there are some things the Americans do, like the actual Americans do, that is pretty dumb and sad and horrific. But then, of course, there's stuff that the KGB does that is dumb and sad and horrific too. So it's like, in the end, we ended up dropping it because it just got a little bit too ridiculous with that, I guess. Where it kind of became not enjoyable to watch, essentially, after a while and stuff. And you didn't really know who exactly you were supposed to be, at least in my and my family's opinion, at least. So we ended up dropping it. But yeah, I mean, historically, it was very interesting to watch. It's just that maybe it wasn't just our cup of tea, essentially. The opening for it is really good, though, and I should show you guys the opening because it's really good in how it like displays the fact that these are Soviet spies in America and everything. I think I showed you the opening. It's actually pretty well done. The other one, so I watched more episodes of The Americans than I did Manifest, to the point where Manifest, there would be points where it'd be like, what is happening? Why is this happening? So the premise of it is actually pretty interesting, and which is that there's this plane that like was flying from the Caribbean back to, I think, New York City or something. And during the flight, there's some turbulence and stuff. Everyone's like, okay, that was really weird, but at least we're out of the turbulence and everything. But when the plane lands, like, years have passed. Like, I think 4 years, 2 to 4 years have passed or something like that.
Oh.
Okay.
Like, in reality. But to everyone that was on the plane, it was just a normal, like, 2-hour flight. Or maybe not 2-hour flight, but whatever the normal flight is and everything. But, so everyone's like, oh my god, how is this plane here? You guys, like, disappeared and everything. Why are you here? And they're like, and they haven't, like, aged or anything, but then everyone else has aged. And then it kind of goes into this whole, like, conspiracy thing of, like, what actually happened. And then it turns out that, like, there's, like, this whole, like, thing of, like, who are they actually? Why is this happening? And it kind of continues like that and stuff. But I guess the downfall of, like, a series like that is that sometimes the theories start to go a little bit too out there. So, yeah. I mean, if you guys are interested in that, I would say that I feel like Valen, at least, you might be more interested in manifest than the Americans, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it goes into like it's like a bunch of like theories and all that stuff. So I feel like you might enjoy that. I think Maya might enjoy that too. There's just a point where you may or may not be able to suspend your disbelief.
Okay.
That's all I'll say with that. But yeah, those are the two shows that I guess I picked up and dropped this year.
Okay. There is one show that I watched that is animated, so I'm going to talk about this more in the video I'm going to make. But I want to mention this because it's such a bad decision that they made that it's kind of amazed me that nobody realized this was a bad idea. So it's this show where there is. It's sort of like I think I forgot what year it's supposed to take place in, but it's like 2070 something. So it's future-ish, and there's they have like nanobots that are involved in technology, and so there's this basically cult that believes that like by basically getting like literally biologically disassembled by this like swarm of nanobots, it's like ascending to heaven or whatever. Okay.
Okay.
And at first you're like, okay, like they could do something with this. And like the thing is, even though it's a cult, they show themselves off to the world as like, we're benevolent people that want people to be happy and like, in the afterlife or whatever, right? So they have actually like real people who like follow them or whatever. And one of the main characters of the show, due to shit that happens to them, gets really depressed and is like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna do this, right? And they literally do this and they go through with it. And, like, the show portrays this, like, pretty seriously, and there's even, like, after this happens, like, a disclaimer pops up being like, if you have suicidal thoughts, blah, 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 right? So it's, like, that they portray this as, like, this character killed themselves, right?
Yeah.
2 episodes later, this character comes back,
Oh.
and they somehow are, like, made of nanobots, and they have these, like, they basically have superpowers. And I'm like, maybe saying the thing that you explicitly said was the same as killing yourself, maybe having that give you superpowers is kind of a terrible message.
Yeah.
Like, how did nobody realize how bad of a thing this looks?
Dear.
Yeah, that's a bad message.
It's so, I'm just like, holy shit, this is so, like, tone deaf and not good. And, like, the rest of the show is like a fucking mess too. So I'm like literally at this point, I think there's one episode left in the season that I'm gonna watch that I still have to watch, and like I'm just gonna watch it just to see what the fuck happens because like I'm like this whole thing is kind of a disaster. But I'm just like that moment was like so bad. I'm just like hold on. So yeah, but anyway, there are some other shows that we watched together. Some of these most of them we've already talked about. We already talked about WandaVision twice. We already talked about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we talked about Loki, but we hadn't watched the last 2 episodes when we talked about Loki that previous time.
Yes, of which the last 2 episodes of Loki really set the stage for what Phase 4 is really going to be about.
Yeah. And I will say that last episode of Loki is one of my favorite episodes of like any of the MCU shows so far.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I've said this before that like I don't know if I said it in the recording or whatever, but like because especially when it seemed that like okay they're going to be setting up Kang as like the next main villain or whatever.
Yeah.
And my worry was that Kang is going to feel too much like Thanos characterization-wise, because he's this big guy that has all these powers and he's kind of like stern and stoic and or whatever, and I'm like
yeah.
And so but the fact that he's like kind of a weirdo is like way better because I'm like who fucking cares if it's not accurate or whatever. I'm like this is way more entertaining and definitely makes him different because his attitude, especially, and obviously because the whole thing is there's multiple variants of him, so they could all have slightly different personalities, whatever. But especially with this guy's attitude is like I literally don't give a shit about anything. It's like, and it's just like not only is it entertaining, it also has a presence of like if you do like what are you gonna do to stop him? Like he doesn't care. Like and it's just like so. Yeah, I really liked it. The fact that it was mostly talking, I thought was actually really nice, really interesting. Definitely looking forward to season 2 of Loki to see how that progresses from there.
Do we know when it's coming out?
No, I don't even know if they've confirmed 2022 or not. And I honestly would be surprised if it. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't even in 2022, just because they already have like 4 or 5 shows. Apparently, they're going to show in 2022.
Mm.
So, yeah. But I personally, of the ones that of them, I like Loki the most.
I think I agree with that. I think out of all, WandaVision is definitely a close second, though.
Yeah, WandaVision has like again the core elements of WandaVision are very good. It's just some of the side stuff is kind of So,
especially the villain.
Yeah.
Good call.
So there's that. However, there is another live-action Marvel show that released this year.
Oh yeah, Hawkeye.
No, so here's the thing. I like totally forgot. I think we all kind of forgot Hawkeye was a thing.
Yeah.
And like, the only reason I even knew it was airing was because I would see like a video recommended to me of like people talking about the new Hawkeye episode, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's airing. And then I'd forget for a week, and then I'd see episode 2, people talking about, oh yeah, that's airing, and forget for a week. And so I just kept forgetting, and then like literally just like 3 days ago, I was like, you know what? Fine, I'll fucking watch all of Hawkeye like right now. So I watched Hawkeye. And I actually liked it a pretty good amount. I liked it more than I thought I would. I would
it's like
say
Black Widow.
It's the most standard of the show in terms of them so far in terms of the plot and what's going on. But that's not a criticism.
Okay.
The main there's several plots kind of going on, even though I said it's a simple one. But the main sort of core character dynamic is, of course, Clint Barton Hawkeye is sort of. Not like training is the wrong word, but dealing with Kate Bishop, who is this sort of, I believe she says she's 22, and in the comics, she's sort of like the next person who takes up the Hawkeye mantle later, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have a sort of like, it's basically the excited fangirl and the I'm done with this shit middle-aged like father, basically dynamic. And it's funny because in the first 2 episodes, like people have said that like, man, Jeremy Renner, like, he's acting like he doesn't want to be there. And it's like, no. It's not that Jeremy Renner doesn't want to be there. Clint Barton doesn't want to be here. And so he has this attitude of just like, oh, fucking goddamn it. Like, during that, like, but he does sort of like warm up to what's going on. And so I do think the dynamic works quite well. There's nothing like, let's see, what else? The main actual plot of the show is mostly sort of like a murder mystery.
Okay.
And, let's see. Oh, there's 2 characters in this that they're interesting. One is a character from the Netflix Marvel series that is involved with this. And it's the first time they've officially tied those together. Because the Netflix Marvel shows were always kind of like, are these actually like canon or not? Because like it's not really clear. And so this is definitely confirmed. Like, yes, they are. And so it's like there's characters, same actors or whatever, and it's like, okay, cool. So that's neat. And then there's another character who is sort of introduced here, and not too much is done with them because apparently they're going to be getting their own spin-off show later. And it's this character who their superhero name is Echo. And their whole thing is that they're deaf. And here's the thing that's interesting. The actress that they got to play her is actually a deaf person.
That's really cool.
So that's cool. And also, even though this is actually not part of the Echo character in the comics, the actress has a prosthetic leg, which also is part of they have as part of the character in this as well. So
that's really cool.
It's interesting, yeah. So I'm curious to see kind of what they do with that character going forward, because again, how they set it up for here, it's like, it's something where it's a character who's introduced, and they have a very specific goal regarding Hawkeye, but at the end of the show, it's sort of like, it's sort of like they don't know what they're going to do with themselves now, hence setting up whatever they're going to do with them, right, later. So, there's that. And there's also a character who is involved in this show who was in a movie before that, who is really good in this show, is really fun to witness, and again, another character I'm curious to see where they take after the show. So, I think it's also, so compared, like, again, Loki is still my favorite, but it's sort of like, again, for me, comparing this to WandaVision, again, the core thing of WandaVision is really good. But the stuff that's not great about WandaVision is worse than anything that's in Hawkeye. So it's sort of like, do you take the thing that has, like, some of it's meh, but some of it's great, versus the thing that's like all of it is pretty good, right?
Mm.
So that's kind of between the two, Hawkeye and WandaVision. I'm not sure how I would rank them or so, but it's 6 episodes. If you want to check it out on your own time, I would recommend it. It was pretty enjoyable. The action's good. It's pretty funny at times, and yeah, it's good. So there's that,
Yay.
and then there's one more show thing that so there's 2 more show things that I'm going to mention now that technically came out this year, but I have not seen for 2 reasons. One of them is because I didn't know that this was coming out until I saw it was out, and then I was like, don't have time to watch this. And that is Agretsuko Season 4.
Oh!
That just dropped like last weekend. So that's a thing that
we need to watch that.
Yeah, we'll have to watch that at some point, but I didn't yet. And the other thing is a show that is technically coming out in 2021, but even by the time this video gets posted, it will not have started airing yet.
What?
So literally on December 29th will be the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett Star Wars show.
What?
So I will be watching that, but I can't really talk about that now. So I'll be talking about that in the 2022 video.
No, that's so sad.
Yeah, I'm like,
why would they do that?
I
December 29th.
don't know. So yeah, but
The Diary of Boba Fett.
So, but yeah. Any other shows from anybody?
No, that I can think of, no.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, then last thing we have is internet stuff. Any YouTube channels or other things to mention? I have a handful of stuff to go over, but
Same. I guess tying it back to what we were talking about in the beginning, one of the main reasons why me and Mai are suddenly more into Zelda stuff is because we found a Zelda channel.
Okay.
Yeah, it was recommended by Overly Sarcastic Productions, which, again, if you people have not subscribed to them, go do that.
Yes.
The channel is Zeltic.
Yes,
Okay.
and he talks about like Easter eggs and theories and like some like lore and stuff with some of the older like all the Zelda games like across the board and stuff like that, and it's just genuinely really interesting to watch and stuff and to learn about like things from different Zelda games and stuff. And as from a storyteller perspective, it kind of really makes you appreciate all the things that they added to all the games and stuff in terms of the stories and the characters and stuff. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Even if you haven't played, like if you're like me and you've only like really played Breath of the Wild and Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity and like a tiny bit of Majora's Mask, I think you'll still enjoy watching like Zelda, because from a story perspective, it's just really interesting and cool to see. And his videos are really well like animated and put together and stuff like that too. Another show that actually YouTuber that Mai showed me actually is Noralties.
Oh yeah, I'll give Valen the spelling at some point because her name is a little bit difficult to spell, but she focuses a lot more on like video essays for anime that are more targeted towards women.
Okay.
Because we have a very abject amount of anime tubers who are female or not male, basically.
Okay.
So yeah, she does some kind of interesting things. Like she's one of the only people who gives a shit about Princess Tutu, and I appreciate that. Because it's such a, like an anime that no one really watches because they think the name is dumb.
But it actually is like really good and everything. And yeah, I really appreciated her video essay on that. And then the one where she talked about Moomin was also really like made me want to watch Moomin because I was like, oh, it's kind of like, especially after watching the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, I'm like, it reminded me of like the Moomin video and stuff too.
I also appreciate the fact that she doesn't like ReZero and like ripped modern male fantasy isekai a new one, because I am sick of it.
I did watch an isekai anime this year.
Which one?
I don't know if I should tell you at this point. I'll say after recording. And it's my thoughts are weird for it. Again, you will see when you watch my video for it. It was not like, it's not one of the most like stereotypical ones that everyone knows about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are some good ones. It's just the oversaturation means that there are more bad ones.
Yeah, it's
like ReZero.
That said, one of the isekai that I am interested in watching is Ascendance of the Bookworm.
Oh yeah, I heard that one's really, at least the story is good. I don't know about the animation. She kind of ripped that a new one too.
But I'm interested in seeing it and stuff. Other YouTubers.
Do you want me to go through some of mine and see if you can?
Yeah. Let's rotate about.
I have a decent list that covers a variety of topics here. First, I have kind of more like educational kind of channels. So I have a trio of channels that are dedicated to like dinosaur videos. So first is called "Your Dinosaurs Are Wrong," and it's by someone who's an actual like scientist, researcher person who literally will go take a dinosaur, a pretty famous one, like Velociraptor or T-Rex or something, and will take like sort of a lot of like stereotypical images of what they look like, including like they'll have like toys of them in front of them, and will basically point out like what's wrong about the toys in terms of their design, and also it kind of gives you a standpoint of like how has our image of these dinosaurs changed over the decades. In terms of what
really
we know.
Cool, actually.
Yeah, and it's pretty like in detailed and scientific, and like it's pretty heavy on like scientific terminology, so it can feel a little bit daunting maybe because of like the what's gone to it, but it's very impressive, the stuff that they go through. So I like it quite a lot. Then there's also Trey the Explainer and Ben G. Thomas, who do kind of similar things of like videos of sort of like showcasing some sort of like prehistoric animal, or maybe some like hey, there was this new discovery that was in paleontology that was pretty cool, or some kind of stuff like that. So those are good channels for that. Let's see, in terms of history, quote unquote, there's a channel called Historio Civilis, which it has these like basically these like really kind of these like animations of various events throughout history, and the most kind of big thing that they've been doing is this like 30 video series of sort of the lead up and the aftermath of Julius Caesar. And so and everyone is sort of animated as like squares, they're different colors or whatever, but like they're well put together videos and what happens with that. This is one of those channels though that only uploads like once every several months, so it's kind of like,
I see.
And they do other topics as well. I know they did some stuff on like I'm blanking so hard right now. Like ancient, like before Caesar, like Sparta stuff. They did something about like the War of 1812. I don't know, but yeah, most of it is like ancient Greek and Roman stuff, which I know is like for history people, it's like, oh my god, everyone only talks about ancient Greece and Rome. But like the level of detail about like specifically like this happened between these peoples in this day or whatever, and how it's kind of weaved together to form this story of sort of like what Caesar was doing and what happened to him. I think it's well done. So,
I will definitely check out those channels now.
Let's see, a couple more here for sort of educational stuff. So for like a week in like February, for some reason I stumbled upon videos of people like going into the inner workings of roller coasters. Like literally just like how they work and exactly like why they're designed the way they are and all this kind of stuff. And it was like for a week straight I was like watching only that, and then I just stopped. but it was something where it was like weirdly interesting for a while. And the main channel that I've watched for that was El Toro Ryan. I don't know if you think that might be interesting.
El Toro is a roller coaster in Six Flags that's here, actually.
Well, then there you go. So yeah, so there's that. And something else that's kind of random, but something that I've actually been watching for longer, is a channel called Not Just Bikes, which is a guy who he was born in Canada and he grew up in Canada. But he now lives in Amsterdam. And the whole thing is basically his channel is about basically city planning and city design. And basically his channel is like why Amsterdam is great and like Canadian US cities fucking suck. And like it's one of those things where you don't realize how bad it is until you see what the alternatives are. And you're like, wow, this does suck. Like really bad. And so it's really interesting because again, you just take like obviously cities look like this because that's what they look like, but like it's just what you're used to. And when you actually see like how they are designed, again, mostly Amsterdam, but also other things, it's like, oh wow, there's actually so many more options that we just don't do, and we should. So, yeah. So that's something that I think is interesting. And here's just sort of a rapid fire of just kind of general, kind of like science sort of channels. Joe Scott is just sort of as good as like kind of standard like science. When you think of like a standard kind of science educational video or whatever on YouTube. He does those, but he does them well. There's a guy, Forrest Valkai, who also makes videos kind of like that, but he started also making videos where he sort of like watches like religious and like creationist videos and basically like rips their asshole apart with that. So because he is like an evolutionary biologist, so those are fun. And then this is something I just discovered like a week or so ago. Is this channel called Cool Worlds, which is like a educational sort of astronomy kind of channel, but how it's presented is like really well done. It's like it's very like it's documentary-esque in a sense in terms of, like it's clear that the guy doesn't have an insane budget, but like what he does and how he puts stuff together is really well done, and it's kind of almost like emotional sometimes. It's unexpectedly good, so definitely something to check out for that. And the last thing that I will kind of say for any sort of stuff like this before I get to other stuff later is this channel called Believe It or Not Believe, but Believe It or Not. And it's videos of someone who used to be in like a super hardcore evangelical Christian like life, but now is not. Boy. And basically talking about how, even if maybe as a person you're not like a bad person in that environment, it conditions you to think about things and people in certain ways that's really harmful. And it's sort of talking about like stuff like that is pretty heavy and but it's in a way that I think is done very well and should be talked about more, because I'm obviously not one of those people who thinks like, oh, all religion is bad or every religious person is bad, but like especially very extreme versions of that is legitimately damaging to people, and I think people are kind of afraid to talk about it because they're going to be labeled as like, oh, you hate all Christians. It's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I hate these specific people who happen to be Christians and who happen to be abusing that, and this guy kind of goes into that a lot. So, yeah. I have more, but anyone think of anything else to say?
General internet stuff. My life has been a mess, so I don't have any other things that come to mind right
now. There's a bunch of new artist channels that I found this year. I think Ami Ceramics is one where she makes a bunch of like, it's just like all these artist videos, I should say, are mainly like vlogs and stuff like that. But it's like Ami Ceramics, it's like a day in the life of being like a potter and stuff like that. And it's really cute and just nice and wholesome and stuff, and then we also have Made by Malin, of which it's also a vlog, but she also sets it up as like talking about like mental health and stuff like that. Which is really nice and helpful that there's someone who also is willing to talk about mental health stuff while doing like art stuff and everything too. That's very important. I've like tried to think of like for just or why do you want to talk about Connor?
Okay, so we fell into the trash taste rabbit hole a bit. The main person we follow, like the main
as
person
in the
alone,
podcast is called Trash Taste, not like
okay.
It's the trifecta of Sea Dog VA, who's the main person we actually follow, his channel, The Anime Man, and Geekuk. The three of them have this podcast called Trash Taste, where they just kind of chill and talk about stuff. And they also interview actually a lot of interesting people. Like they interviewed a Japanese singer that we were very familiar with growing up in the Vocaloid community. And they interviewed Mori Calliope, who's a VTuber. She's a English VTuber. They interviewed her twice. They interviewed some other interesting people. Like they interviewed an
animator for a JoJo anime, for the JoJo anime.
Yeah.
And then it's just very interesting. They have a very funny dynamic too, so it's just fun to just watch them in the background, and they'll just talk about random stories, or if they actually have a topic, they'll try to be on topic with that too.
I guess that's something that I can actually talk about. This year I got exposed to a lot of podcasts because one of the artists we follow, Lee Ellickson, she started a podcast with her bestie called Yeah Maybe. It's very small right now. They just started it. So if you're interested in just two besties shooting the breeze, recommend. But for school, I had to also watch a podcast. And I guess I can finally talk about something because my life has been consumed. So for school, I had to pick a podcast that had to do with criminal law in some capacity. And one of the ones on that list was Serial, the season 1 of Serial, which follows the case of Adnan Syed and him being accused of murdering his ex-girlfriend in 1999. This podcast was put up in like 2014, so it's been a hot minute, but it was interesting, like seeing all of this from a journalistic perspective, because the person who interviews everyone is journalist, so this is like investigative journalism, but also it's like I've been examining through a lens of like, one, of course, for school, so criminal law, but also this involved 2 Asian Americans, because Adnan Syed was Pakistani and then his girlfriend Heyman Lee was Korean American.
Oh.
So it was just interesting, like for once, for people to give a shit about like Asians dying, especially like nowadays. So the thing is that like it's the way it's set up, it does help like make you ask a lot of questions, because Adnan, he had been convicted of her murder and he's serving a life sentence, but when you listen to like him talk to the person, it doesn't seem like he should be there. But then also like she gets both sides of the story, and by the end of it you're just like, I don't know what to think. So that was pretty interesting. When I was younger, I was more into like actually watching true crime stuff, but I fell out of it because I just didn't have time to watch anything anymore. But maybe with podcasts, I can have more time to do that, because it's just I can listen to it. I don't have to watch anything, and I can go back to my roots a little bit. It was a ride. I would like cook dinner and I would be listening and I'd be like, what? He said what? He did what?
Yeah, I thought of like maybe like eventually finally, and don't take this as any confirmation, I could totally not ever do this. But I might start getting into audiobooks for kind of similar reason. But I don't know. So
get into what? I couldn't hear you.
Audiobooks. Sorry.
Oh, audiobooks.
Oh, audiobooks. Yeah, I've heard those are also good to listen to, because again, I don't have the time to like read a book, but maybe if I listen to one, then I can consume more stories, because right now I can only read one type of book for school. So.
Yeah, because again, it's something where just like, while you're cooking dinner or like, walking around or whatever.
Yeah, you could like just put on an audiobook.
Yeah, so that could be a thing, but I don't know if I actually will. I did, okay. Speaking of YouTube, I did succumb to paying for YouTube Premium.
Wait, really?
And here's the
Why?
thing. So the reason this started is because I through Discord I got like a, this sounds like it's like a fucking spam thing, but it wasn't. I got like a 3-month trial of YouTube Premium. And I was like, okay, well, if I can get it, I might as well use it. And I've actually found it like pretty damn useful, because what I can do is like I can, for example, a video that like is a video that I feel fine like listening to and not, watching, especially like long sort of like video essays or something, is because what you can do is you can download the videos, right, through YouTube Premium, and then you can play them back with, whenever. And so what I've been doing also with, you can put the screen off on your phone, for example. And so what I've been doing is like before I, when I like walk to school or whatever, I will like download some like a couple long videos and like, basically listen to those as I'm walking to school. And I'm like, this is actually like really nice. So, and so even though when came time for the trial to be expired, I'm just like, God damn it! Now that I know how this is working, it's actually like really nice. So fucking fine, I'll actually pay for it. So yeah, but there, that's my payment of any sort of internet content. But yeah. Okay. Any other? Should I continue with my YouTube list? I have I'm a bit more than halfway, and so.
Yeah, you
can knock out some more.
So this is a channel I know I've mentioned to you guys before, but this is one that I've known about this channel for a while. I think I've seen some other videos earlier, but I really kind of started getting into more of their stuff because with this year with the Marvel TV shows, and it's Mr. Sunday Movies. They again specialize mostly in like kind of mostly like comic book style sort of like TV and movie stuff, and mainly it's so that I can sort of catch up on, because I don't know anything about the comics for any of these characters, so it's just sort of being like, oh, this person is based off of this character who does these things, and like blah blah blah. So it's kind of going into that. The humor is like a bit much sometimes, but it's helpful in that sense. So yeah. And then kind of in a random vein, so there's this channel called Friendly Space Ninja, and it's these like long, I'm talking like I think there's one video that's like 2.5 hours long, videos on like live action TV shows from like 2005 to like 2013 that like you've heard of before, but like you never watched them. So for example, like well, the one that you did that's more is like, for example, they made a video on Riverdale, and he also made a video on like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, like the new, like a newer one that was released on Netflix that was like had problems. There was one that on like shows like fucking, I'm blanking right now, like the amount on Teen Wolf, shit like this that like like you've heard of but you never watched. I'm just like, you know what? So for I started listening to this video, and like it's just interesting because like he's coming at this from someone who like did watch these shows, and like he's pointing out stuff that like is actually maybe good, but also all the stuff that's not good. And it's just interesting hearing someone kind of go off on some of these shows that I've like never actually watched, I have no attachment to, but I find it funny. I don't know why. So there's that. And then kind of similar, there's also another channel which I definitely have known about before, but I've just started watching kind of more recently, is Billiam, who does mostly kind of videos on like, think like our age nostalgia. So, for example, it's often like TV shows, but also like toys that like you might know about from growing up, whatever. So, again, so think like late 90s, early 2000s kind of stuff. So there's that. I remember a couple of videos you did in particular were about these like Animal Planet like quote unquote documentaries that are actually like fake or whatever. Like the thing about like, look, we found mermaids or whatever, and it's like,
oh yeah, I remember that.
So he goes into that and how it's like really actually kind of fucked up what they did, and like this other stuff, and I don't know, it's well made, and so that stuff is good. And then here's something that I also literally added to my notes like 3 days ago, actually maybe even less than that. Is this channel called Tiptoe the Tank. And it's a channel that it's someone who, it's basically lore and story videos of various video games. they're mostly video
No.
games that you probably don't really know. For example, I found them through their Horizon Zero Dawn videos.
I
But
see.
a lot of them are actually the most recent one they did is on Ocarina of Time. But
Oh,
a lot of it is, for example, on like games again you probably have heard of, but you've never played, like Dishonored and like Prey and like Metro 2033. And it's like I'm never gonna play these games, but like I don't know. I found it. I watched some of the lore videos. Like actually, this is kind of interesting. So it's stuff where it's like I'm never gonna play this, so I don't feel bad about like spoiling myself. But like I don't know, kind of curious to know the story, so why not? You know. And again, the videos are really well put together. She definitely has a way of like talking about it like it's a narrative. Because a lot of times I find if you watch like lore videos, it's just presented in a way where it seems like someone's like reading off a Wikipedia page, so it just kind of goes in one ear and out the other, and you just don't remember it at all. This is not like that. It's actually presented in a way that actually is more memorable to me. So yeah, definitely remember them if you want to see some kind of random lore stuff.
ooh, yeah. It kind of reminds me of Celtic too.
Yeah.
This isn't something I started this year, but again, I've been doing more D&D this year,
Yes.
including starting my own campaign that I'm running, which has been going on for about half a year. And so of course there's like tons of D&D YouTube channels out there, but there's two I'll highlight. One is Crit Crab, which is it's a D&D sort of story channel where people will like read off like Reddit stories, and there's some fucking whacked people who play D&D every now and then. So there's that. And then the other channel is they do some of these stories too, but it's called an XP to level 3, and he also has videos that are sort of like advice, I guess, where it's just like, hey, when I play like this, I do this thing, or here's what I think about these spells, or like this mechanic is dumb, how do we improve it, or whatever. So it's some stuff like that, which can be kind of nice again for someone who is still relatively quite new to D&D, kind of seeing other people's perspective on things and stuff like that. So yeah. Let's see. Okay, couple more things. So I know I have definitely mentioned before that I am into the SCP Foundation and some stuff involved with that. And this year I discovered the channel that posts this is Evan Royalty, but it's sort of a thing that's made by many people, and it's literally someone who goes out and makes like a short film based on an SCP item. Or at least it fits in the universe. Like, for example, his specifically, I think, don't draw on a specific SCP item, but they definitely clearly feel like they are involved in that universe. And originally, he started making these literally through like a modded version of Call of Duty, where you could you can move the camera as any way you want, and as they like move the people around to simulate stuff happening or whatever. But this year and last year, they actually started like filming in real life, like different things. So the one that was posted this year is Overlord. If you just search like SCP Overlord, you'll find it, and it's very good. It is also like a horror kind of thing, but it's not like super gross. So I think actually you two might, you could handle it. I don't know if you'd be interested in it, but I don't think it's like, it's too much for you. But it is very well done again, because it is. Again, it's thinking of this as like, this is something that like, I don't know, a dozen like random people on YouTube met up in real life, to just film this. And it's like, that's pretty fucking impressive. So there's that. There's also not this group. There's another group that also made one specifically on SCP-096, which if anyone knows about 096, then yeah, that one's well, there's only so much they could do, because again, it's a small team making this, but it's 096 is a pretty fucked up one. So it's about a monster that basically, if you see its face, it will kill you. And when I say it will kill you, it will kill you. Even if you are a person who saw a photograph of its face on the other side of the planet, it will find you and it will kill you. So yeah, they go with stuff with that. So that's a thing. So that's also really well made. And last thing I'm going to mention. Last thing I'm going to mention is a channel that actually I think you originally found this, which is Mooncat.
Oh yeah!
yeah.
When I showed you guys the LuLaRoe stuff.
Yeah. So I watched all of her stuff, and I'm subscribed to her, and yeah, she makes really good videos for someone who's only been doing this for a pretty short amount of time.
Like a year and a half or so.
Yeah,
Her
and so
videos on like what happened with the whole royal family and all that stuff are really sad too.
yeah, so there's the
Yeah.
royal family stuff. Again, a lot of the earlier stuff she do was like MLM stuff, which is really good.
Yeah.
There's also like, like self-help people or whatever that are full of shit, and things like that that are done really well. And then also in kind of a similar vein to that, there's a channel that's kind of similar, which is Cruel World Happy Mind.
Mhm.
Similar kind of style of videos to similar topics. That one's usually more focused on like specific like YouTube people and like what some problematic people in that sense, but again, similar vein of stuff. So yeah, so that's what I got.
I guess if we're going to continue with internet stuff, then I should talk about webtoons.
Okay,
Where it will only really be me talking about
that's fine.
I could only contribute like 2 because because of how things have been going, I've had to drop most of them except like a small handful of them that I'm still reading.
Yeah. So, I was like trying to think in my head. I was like, wait, which ones actually came out this year and which ones have actually ended this year? Notable ones that I can think of off the top of my head is I read, it had finished when I had read it, but I managed to catch reading it before it went to. So the thing with webtoons is after a series finishes, there's like a set of months where you can still like binge it and everything, but after a set amount of time for certain series and stuff, you will have to pay like coin, like based in on the server. There's coins where on the phone app you can read 1 chapter per day essentially, and if you want to read more, you have to pay for coins or use up free coins or whatever. So this webtoon series had finished, and I was like, I've heard really good things about this like series. Let me just binge it now before it's impossible to binge essentially. And it worked out because I think at the time that I binged it, you were doing something. I don't remember what you were doing.
In the process, no, I was
Moving?
apartment hunting. Yeah.
Oh yeah, something. Yeah, that was what was happening. So I was like, all right, well, I have downtime and stuff. Let's binge this. And it legitimately made me very emotional. It's called Siren's Lament. It actually ironic Valen mentioned mermaids because it involves sirens. And yeah, I highly recommend it, even though now you have to use coins and you can't really binge it. But I would highly recommend it. I really enjoyed that, and I would probably want to reread it too. Then Spirit Fingers ended this year too, of which I also recommend that one, even though again, you can't really binge it at the moment. But another reason I mentioned those 2 series is that both the authors and artists for those series have started new series, both of which I introduced mine to. So that's your segue.
So author who did Siren's Lament wrote Eternal Nocturnal. It's like brand new. There's only I think 5 or 6 episodes out right now that are like for free if you don't fast pass. It's really funny because like the way that Tara convinced me to read it is because of some of the humor, because like one of the lines that this author wrote, because like it's about an insomniac and she has like resting bitch face, but she's just like, there is no rest on this bitch face. So just I like that kind of stuff. So It's one of the only webtoons right now I've made time for because the other one that had that slot is currently on hiatus because they're in between seasons, and season 2 destroyed both of us. So yeah,
Which is
Purple
Purple
Hyacinth.
Hyacinth.
Purple Hyacinth season 2. Last episode's so fucked up. But we're still waiting for our queen to deliver this first episode of season 3, and then the other the person who did Spirit Fingers did Our Beloved Summer, I think.
Yeah, which is a prequel webtoon to a K-drama that's actually airing right now, which would be, I'm actually kind of interested because we haven't actually watched a K-drama. I haven't personally watched a K-drama, so
I haven't either.
That would be interesting to do for like a show Sunday or something, I think, because I have heard of at least one particular series that is very well acclaimed and I've heard very good things about. And a lot of people have recommended it, so it's like maybe for a show Sunday we'll do it. But yeah,
there was one that I wanted to watch too, but I have to find the name of it.
Is it the Goblin one?
No,
okay, never mind.
The one I'm thinking of is a mystery one. I have to figure out what the. Obviously, I have a hole in my heart now that Purple Hyacinth is currently on hiatus, so I need to fill that hole with something.
Oh yeah, but Beloved Summer is not mystery, so but it's more about a film project where this guy went to a school and he was like, okay, I want to do a film, like a short film about the person with the highest grades and the person with the lowest grades and like their lives and like what happens when they're like, if they're like together during the day and everything and whatnot. It kind of just plays off of that dynamic and everything. It's kind of it's interesting and stuff. So yeah, both those series just started, so there's not that many episodes out, but so far so good. Then
oh, should we talk about Seasons of Blossom? Because like,
oh yeah,
season 2 was something.
Yeah, Seasons of Blossom is a very interesting, like the way they set it up is that each season of the story is actually like a different season. Like it starts in spring, and then so season 1 is spring, season 2 is summer, and right now we're on season 3, which is fall, of which presumably season 4 is obviously winter. And it kind of takes on like different, it's about like different takes on love, essentially, of which spring was about like these, was really cute. And it was like, because spring is like all about like new beginnings and cute and everything. And then summer was...
Okay, we have to put the disclaimer now. There's suicide involved in season 2. It is talked about very extensively.
Yeah,
so if
it was
that is
hinted
something
at in the spring season 2.
So if that's something that triggers you, I don't recommend you read it because while it's handled very well, it goes very in depth on just the topic of suicide and how it affects the people who are left behind afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. And it's really emotional and stuff. And it doesn't play it up as some grand thing, nor does it like make it something where like all the other characters are just using it as a plot device or anything. No, they actually go into it and they talk about like what happened and what happened with the guy and the people he left behind and everything too. And it's really well done. And season 3 is also shaping up to be quite a doozy with fall.
Yeah.
So yes, again, as Mai said, there is a disclaimer, of course, if there is mentions of suicide and everything, so that's something that you don't want to read or shouldn't be reading, don't read it. and stuff, but it is a good series if that's something you're interested in. Like
yeah, that's where I peace out because everything else I have to catch up on, or I'm just gonna permanently drop.
Yeah, so I was not very well prepared for this, but also to make sure that I don't just talk for 1 hour about various webtoon series and everything. I would say, Valen, if I was to recommend you webtoon series that are currently like going on right now, I would say that Seasons of Blossom, Purple Hyacinth, and Eternal Nocturnal would be my recommendations.
Okay.
Eternal Nocturnal, again, another one that I would also recommend is My 19th Life, which is basically, I think I talked about it last year because I think it came out last year, but it's essentially about this person who is on their 19th life and remembers all of their lives previous to that.
Mm.
And it's kind of interesting in that way because they're technically they, because they've lived through like life as like a woman and as a man and everything. And it's kind of like, it's interesting seeing like the perspective, like having someone with all those perspectives as the main character and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bit of mystery and stuff, but yeah, those are the 4 that I would recommend to you, Valen.
Okay. Well, you did actually. This isn't the same thing, but you did actually remind me of one other thing. That I don't know if you remember. Like, I don't know when this was. Maybe a month ago, when I shared there was this like there's like a series of image that was like a comic thing about like Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno and Ho-Oh or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
I looked into that artist's stuff, and they have basically like a web comic, that mostly is following around like the Gen 1 starter Pokemon as if they were kids. And it's called Little Char and the Gang. And it is actually it's just like a cute sort of like, think like Calvin and Hobbes-esque kind of story, right?
That's
and
really
there's not
cute.
really a plot, right? It's just stuff happens. There's, a lot of it's one-off comics, but then there might be sort of a story arc that's like 5 or so that kind of connects things. They each have like an older sibling that's like the middle stage starter evolution, and then like their parents are like, the final stage or whatever. So yeah, it's just kind of like a cute story. They're currently, I just looked, they've done up to 195.
Oh wow.
Which sounds like a lot, but like you can go through the whole thing in like, I don't know, 2 hours or something. So and I think they upload like once a week. I think it's every Friday. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah. So the current thing they're doing is again sort of an arc on like where the Kanto starter families are visiting Alola for Christmas. So yeah. So again, it's just kind of like a cute story thing to look at that has, again, good drawings and nice characterization. So
yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
Any last minute things for anybody? This year has existed.
Yeah, this year has existed.
Yeah.
And it's definitely like very clearly, I mean, obviously in terms of like media, but also just reality. It's, still dealing with COVID, trying to get to normal with COVID. Speaking of, Tara, today you earlier got your booster.
Yeah, I got my booster shot today.
I got my booster on Sunday. For anyone watching this, 2 Sundays ago. And I felt basically fine until I was about to fall asleep, and then I was like, uh-oh. And then when I woke up, I was like, oh no.
No.
So that first day afterwards sucked. But the second day was like, actually, I don't feel that bad, and by now I feel like totally fine. So it was similar-ish to the second dose, but not quite as severe for me, at least. So hopefully, I don't know.
So far, I have a sore arm and my head is a little bit woozy, but I have Tylenol, which I've been taking, of which it's been helping.
The test will be how you feel when you wake up tomorrow. Then
that'll be the real test. I mean, we're right now reaching the 12-hour mark, which is when I heard that's when the symptoms really kick in. So, because I took it I had my COVID vaccine at 2:45 p.m. So, and we're reaching that time.
Okay. Mai, did you get your booster? I don't remember.
I got mine in like November or something.
Okay. Yeah, I
Like
was gonna get mine like near Thanksgiving, but I didn't make an appointment and there weren't any available, so
same.
Bad for me, but we got them now, so hooray!
We have got them now, and now we're even more safe than we were before.
Yeah, so just a little thing about this. So you probably have heard of the Omicron variant that's popping up. So again, we don't have a ton of data because it's pretty new, but from what it seems, it does spread more easily, but it's not as bad as which, if anything, because the whole point of a successful virus, quote unquote, from a virus's perspective, is one that spreads really easily. So. If anything, what you want, even from a virus perspective, is a virus that spreads really easily but doesn't really do very much damage. Because if you do too much damage, then the person will die before they can spread, right? So that's why a lot of viruses actually, as a couple of years pass, they sort of mutate to become more easy to spread, but they do less. So, for example, that's what happened to the Spanish flu, was that it became more transmissible, but the lethality dropped a lot, and now the Spanish flu is like basically just sort of a normal flu virus at this point. So the hope is that COVID will sort of be like that too, and so that, coupled with more vaccines and boosters or whatever, should mean that hopefully in a relatively short period of time we could actually be somewhat normal-ish. So we'll see how things are at the end of next year, but
boy. The 2020 decade is certainly something.
It is.
Hopefully we don't have another Great Depression at the end of it.
But why start at the end?
True. True. Most of us are already depressed. It's fine.
Well,
I guess before we wrap things up completely, should we discuss what we're planning for January?
Yeah, we should. You know what, Mai, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's most appropriate if Mai tells them.
Also because I think Mai's thing is the first one that we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we did Shit Month with low budget movies where they were they were funny and hokey for the most part, except The Room. The Room was actually boring as sin. Who Killed Captain Alex is still a masterpiece. Cool Cat is still hilarious, and wow, Neil Breen. Fateful Findings was so funny.
Oh my god.
And then last year we died because we watched the big budget bad movies, and we truly suffered.
I still can't believe you guys actually sat through Cats.
I actually wanted to rewatch the reaction video for it, but it's 40 minutes and I need just to block out some time to listen to what we were saying because wow, that was a ride.
Oh boy.
So we had that. We're gonna mix it up this time though. We're not gonna do movies. We're gonna do anime. We're gonna do bad anime for this upcoming In Our Lord 2022 January Shit Month.
Of which we should disclaim that it's not necessarily that they're the bad anime you would see on the bad anime list. They're just our personal takes on like bad anime.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not watching like any like what the fuck was that one called? That came out, the one that was like Mother's Basement made a video on it like last year in terms of like worst anime of the year that looked so fucking terrible.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. It was like the one where it's like 3D or
Jibiate?
something.
Yeah, Jibiate, that was it. We're not watching stuff like that.
No, we're not. No. We're watching things that we find bad for various different reasons.
That we've actually watched in the past.
Yeah.
So I'm going first. I am subjecting these two to Vampire Night.
I know absolutely nothing about this.
I do know stuff about this.
I will explain my backstory with this franchise, and I will explain the ending of the manga because it is buck wild, and you have to hear about this.
Okay.
Because I talked about this with someone else I know who watched Vampire Night too, and then I remembered something that truly makes the ending more awful.
Okay.
I guess we'll get all those juicy details next time.
Yep.
Yeah, so I guess this might actually be a unique thing because since we are purposefully like putting certain things on the table, we have history with them, so we can talk about that.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
So yeah.
Oh boy.
First up is Vampire Night. Second will be something that I do, and third will be something that Tara does.
Yeah. I'm last but not least.
Yes. And well. Oh boy.
I'm so excited.
I'm like hesitantly excited. I think that's the best way I can put it.
So yeah, that's next. First video of 2022.
Vampire Night.
Vampire Night. Oh wait, I must ask. Are we watching the sub or the dub? Because I've heard that the dub is hilariously bad.
Then we're gonna watch the dub, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, this is the time where we can watch all the terrible dubs things.
Yeah.
So
I feel like this one will probably be the worst one though, because
yeah, probably.
I heard that some of the actors phoned in their performance. I haven't personally seen the dub, but yeah, I'm very interested to just see this train wreck again.
I'm curious to witness a train wreck.
Oh boy.
And Tara will actually be joining us, so that's good.
Yes, I will actually be joining because I have history with that.
So,
which I'll also subject these two to. It should also be mentioned that most of the three shows, I think there's only one that another person has seen before. But yeah. But my show no one has seen, and I don't think my show anyone has seen. I know Fallon's show I've seen part of, so yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah. Well.
But yeah.
Next up is the wonderful world of Vampire Night.
To welcome in the new year.
Yay!
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Yeah.